Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Wake Up Workday Morning Show. I'm your host, Tony Gilfillan. It is Thursday, February 5th, and we're going to jump into it. A few things I found interesting today. Looks like we're going to get a host of Anthropic Super Bowl ads that is essentially poking fun at the OpenAI commercials that'll be coming. Won't play this one for you, but go ahead and search these. I'll stick this particular one in the description along with the other articles, and you can enjoy. They're pretty funny. Um, this article was also pretty hilarious. Some guy essentially vibe coded a physical device. So he vibe coded the software for this. It was like an anti, what was it? An anti fraud device. Looks like this. Not exactly not bomb looking. Definitely looks suspicious. And took this to Davos to essentially pitch the prototype to potential investors, and effectively got arrested for bringing a bomb-like device to a big electronics forum. Then he got arrested, taken to jail, couldn't explain what the device was, and actually got a architect. The police went and got a technical person to come and review what this device did, and actually essentially got his device to be reviewed by a technical professional that actually understood the code that this guy vibe coded. He had no idea what this software actually did in the back end, but he knew it worked. But it turns out his vibe coded creation actually was a decent architecture, and so it turned out good for him, but pretty hilarious that he got arrested and um, essentially like what, behind bars for 13 hours. So he was, for half a day, this guy sat in jail while his anti-fraud device got analyzed by a technical professional. So it kind of went through the ringer accidentally, but pretty hilarious. Don't bring bomb-like devices to a um, electronics show, the World Economic Forum. This one was pretty interesting. Anthropic launched a bunch of AI legal tools. There's a bunch of ones out there already, like LegalZoom and other similar tools that help you build, legal documents and have AI built into them. But these essentially caused several different UK AI or UK legal related tools to drop in their stock price. So the days of software being easily accessible is definitely upon us. All right, now I want to jump over to what exactly we're going to be doing today. Yesterday we jumped into the OpenAI Codex. So this is their IDE. They released this several months ago, but this has since gotten a refresh. And they kind of re-released it earlier this week with a bunch of new features, including work trees that tie into your Git, the ability to kind of jump in between the web app version, the cloud agents, as well as adding this skills and automation piece. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I did a little bit more digging. These skills are not actually MCP skills, so it's not like these skills live out on an MCP server and are accessed like the MCP protocol. These are just essentially markdown documents that effectively tell the LLM how to operate and how to do different things in just a markdown-esque format. I will also post this little document. So this is documentation that OpenAI has released to kind of describe how these skills actually work. Again, these are really just documents that live in a skill markdown file that kind of tell the LLM how to behave on certain different skills. So PDF processing and other things. So we'll touch on this a little bit, but not exactly what I was actually hoping that they were. I was actually hoping that these were kind of a ad hoc MCP server. If you're not familiar with MCP servers, MCPs is essentially it's basically a standard to teach LLMs how to do different things in a really easy to work with format. I built several different tools for Flowwise a while back when I first started this stream. You can actually see that if you go back to the first few episodes of this stream, and we'll probably touch on that again when we get back into the Flowwise world. But I did want to play around with a little bit of these skills just to see what they have out here, kind of pre-baked, and what power they can actually hold. Again, these are not MCP tools. They are tools to teach your LLM how to do different things. So let's go ahead and just click into one of these, like this game web development. So this is all it really is. It's importing some different skills from different packages, and then it tells the LLM how to actually operate with these. So it's pick a goal, implement something small. This is just a game development skill. Let's do something. Yeet. Looks like it's just a quick way to push information into a Git repository without really looking at it too quickly. It literally stages commits and then opens a PR to push to master. So that's kind of dangerous. Capture screenshots, OpenAI documents. There's all kinds of different skills that you can do, and obviously the world is your oyster with what you can kind of slap into a markdown to teach the LLM how to do different things. Let's see just how well this actually does anything. Build games in small steps and validate every change. Treat as iteration as implement, act, pause, observe, adjust. So we did build that little snake game yesterday. Let's see if our thread can make use of that skill. We have to add this skill. Assuming it just kind of has the skill now that I installed it. Okay, so once you've installed a skill, so essentially filled out a markdown file, you just click this try skill, and it kind of slaps in a quick prompt for you, and then a reference to that skill. I wonder if there's a way to maybe like at skill or something. Is there a way to add multiple skills to one prompt? I'm not sure. There probably is, but I'm not sure off the top of my head how to refer to that. Toggle this diff panel away. So build and iterate a playable web game in this workspace. We're going to change this to a playable iterate on the existing snake game in this workspace. See what it does with this skill. Basically, what we did yesterday with this was it was just a very simple example prompt to create a web snake game feature. It was very rudimentary. It didn't work super well. Had screens that stuck on the screen regardless of whether it was supposed to go away. There didn't seem to be an end, and the controls were a little wonky. So let's see what this actual game loop can do, and we're gonna let this kind of roll because that's what LLMs are good for. Once that finishes processing, we'll come back to it. Now the automations piece, this is now what I'm a little bit more interested in than the skills, since I know the skills aren't those tools. I want to actually, again, my harebrained idea here is to build one of my automations that I was going to do in just an integration, but I wanted to use, this particular IDE to do that recurring expense that I have out in my extend app. So I have that orchestration that essentially pulls my credit card transactions. It then creates a expense report off of the new transaction that exists and then submits that expense report. And I want to effectively automate that to do that on a scheduled basis. Again, Workday has this pre-baked in. I'm kind of doing a out of the box type of sort of situation. You could easily do this automation in Workday with a scheduled integration, but I'm just kind of playing with things out in the world here of OpenAI and Claude and all these silly IDEs. All right, what are you saying here? I want to start the local server. Yeah, go ahead. All right, so let's do an automation here. So again, there's a lot of different samples that you can pick from. Here, there are automations in this IDE. It can create a game for me. It can do issues from my Git. It can summarize PRs. But let's see if it can handle anything with web service calls. I'm going to say submit expense report Workday on a schedule. Submit recurring. We want a new folder. Create a new project. Folder, not in the snake folder. GitHub folder. Recurring expenses. And we'll use this folder to start my automation. Oh no, I lost. I was typing. Yeah, I did. All right, new automation again. Recurring expenses. Recurring expenses folder. The prompt is I want to run a Workday orchestration by calling an orchestration REST API that kicks off a workflow to check for credit card transactions and submits any what is that status? New. Then you can create a schedule. Let's say every day at it's 11:15 here. Do this at 11:20. Let's see if I can create this automation in the next 7 minutes. Not going to create anything for me. This is just the prompt. I hope it was going to like spin up some sort of thread for me to create this automation, but it's going to run this prompt every day at 11:20. Oh, that doesn't help me very much. Well, that's a little, honestly, a little lackluster. It's effectively just running a prompt on a cron schedule. So, not exactly game breaking. Can we do anything with that? It runs on a branch, runs the prompt in the branch. So if you wanted to effectively do a particular, if you wanted to check whether or not any updates to the branch had been done in the past day, if you're working in a multi-dev environment, that could be interesting to like just get a summary of all the commits or staged commits that could go out that day. Could be interesting, but again, a lot of this is already handled when you have things like Jenkins and GitHub and all the other CI/CD tools already. So to be completely honest, this is a little lackluster. Yeah, I'm gonna delete this. No reason to exactly have something that does nothing. Well, let's see if we can just create a thread to hit this. We're going to start in recurring projects and we're going to create a new thread. That's another thing that I don't really like about this IDE. So I hit new thread here. I see here, let's build recurring. You have to select your project here. Very subtle. You don't even realize which project you're in. I understand the simplicity of it, but kind of, it almost looks like just a background image. You don't even think of this as something to click on. But here's your projects. So I'm in recurring expenses, my new folder I just created. I want to create a project that runs that hits in a Workday REST API on schedule. This is going to be a super simple project for this to build. Again, it's I had to guess, it's going to pick Python. It's going to run on a cron or Node.js. Schedule how often to run it. Do you want this to run on cron, a GitHub action, or a small server? Auth, OAuth2, output. Daily run, OAuth2, output. Did output to Slack, honestly. Be a little Slack bot that can essentially Slack you when your expense report gets submitted. Be kind of handy. Little snake skill is waiting for another approval. So these threads essentially are acting like individual agents. So like when you spin up, you have your cursors and your Claude codes as well that act very similarly. So like you do is spin up new agents here and they just pop into your agent window. So you have, I believe this one handles up to 8 agents at a time doing something. That might have changed recently, but I've only ever done a couple or 2 or 3 at a time because after that my brain starts to hurt. But you'll see a lot of hype out there these days with agent swarms and agent teams and things like Gas Town. There's a thing out there that effectively builds agent swarms and just like spins up sub agents upon agents to do multitasks. And there's, a lot of different trains of thought around, LLMs are better when they're focused on one particular small task versus a large complex task. And obviously different models are better at doing those than others. Your Claude Sonnet is a lot better at doing those quicker, easier to do tasks than Opus, the big thinking one. Sonnet 5 is actually supposed to be coming out here soon. Gemini is obviously getting a lot better these days. We'll see if GPT-5.2 is, a competitor now. I'm not 100% sold on their IDE, but I can't speak for the model quite yet because it's been a minute since I've used the OpenAI stuff. I mean, I've used it in Cursor when it's running on auto mode, but I couldn't tell you which one is actually doing the majority of the building versus another. That would be something interesting if OpenAI or Cursor did that for you. If there was some way to view, you can view not necessarily the usage, but you can view like your API usage. Cursor, yeah. Where is that? This is right. Cursor. Got another one open here. Way to view your usage, but I don't think it tells you which model you're using. Let me see if I can't dig that up. Yeah, it doesn't really give you any kind of breakdown onto the different models it's using. All right, is this finished? Run the playwright loop locally. Okay. This was the Python server we were running yesterday. Enable playwright locally, and I can run the playwright loop with screenshots. Request any gameplay. Can I access this still? Localhost. Pretty sure playwright is running now that it started that. Did it not? Action payloads.json. Did it create that in my... See, this is another thing I don't particularly like about this IDE. It's not really an IDE. It's like its own separate agent space. Like it's like the web app, but it's not tied to an actual IDE. You have to go to an IDE if you actually want to see the changes. So, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so biased against OpenAI, but it just not sweeping me off my feet here. And it's also not very descriptive into what the problem actually is. So it's missing some playwright package to essentially run. I'm assuming that's the package that this game is being run on. I'm not super well versed in the world of game development, especially in the web world. Let's do this. Do this. So the question of the day really is, are these skills, are these automations, is Codex actually worth your time? My initial take is it's a shinier upgrade to what they had before. There's some nice features in here. I haven't played with the work tree yet, but I have honestly haven't played with the work tree capability in really any of the LLMs because it's usually just myself working on my own personal projects. So I haven't really had the need to work with the work tree bits on any of these IDEs. This is nice to be able to jump to any of the different um, other actual IDEs that you can see, but initial reaction is that I'm not super impressed with Codex still. Again, I played with this months ago, back when it first came out, and my reaction has not changed much. It's decent. The GP2 552 model is still fine, but I would much rather work with it in Cursor than in this particular environment. Let's see if this actually fixed anything. I added a serve script to the package JSON so you can start the local server with npm serve. All right, let's see if it fixed this for me. Okay, well, I already ran that. Okay, that is running. Next. It's not very descriptive. Like, I feel like Cursor and Claude give you, very concrete steps on what to do next or what has actually been built, how to run it, how to install it. Install it here. So npm playwright. Okay, can do that. I don't know why you had me start this server. This is installing that package. Okay. Okay, playwright is installed in the Snake workspace. Like, this is a very simple use case. This is a Snake game. Like, it's a little block on a screen that's chasing other blocks to make itself longer. Like, this is not rocket science here. Want me to run that exact command now? Yes. So it's having issues with this playwright package still and kind of just fumbling over itself. So it's wanting me to run this. Yeah, I see it all right there. I can even see in my Explorer, playwright is definitely installed. Like, I have a package folder. It's tied to this IDE. It's tied to OpenAI. How does it not see what's underneath this package? Maybe I need to change the greater depth, extremely high reasoning. Maybe my model's just wrong. And now it's trying to install it again with npx instead of npm. It's like sometimes this is trying to do things on its own, and sometimes it's pushing it to the user. I just feel like Cursor and Claude just feel a lot more hands off, and it has the power to do what it needs to do and tell you when it doesn't have the power to, and just asks for the permission, be it temporary or not. I don't think it knows what the heck it's doing. It ran. Is it running these multiple times here? Ran playwright install for 2 seconds. Ran playwright install for 44 seconds. Word file and env environment variable. What? Oh. Oh goodness. Well, again, I said this a couple minutes ago. I'm not super impressed with this. I'm probably just going to pivot back to to cursor and Claude code because this isn't blowing me away. So good try OpenAI. Maybe next time. So we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm gonna steer away from Codex at the moment. The skills and automations are a little lackluster. The IDE itself isn't a true IDE. It has you jump to actual IDEs to see the actual code. Yeah, that's about it. I probably would not recommend this to versus using cursor or Claude code. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be talking about my little app that I built to actually control cursor from my mobile phone. So that one's pretty interesting, and we'll see